Howdy, Mike McCoy here. Well, today's Christmas. Hope everybody had a Merry Christmas. We had a real good Christmas here on the hill. And this cold, blustery day. Didn't have a white Christmas. I wished we had it, but it wasn't. It snowed just a few flakes. But I snuck off in here. Mother's out prowling around and the grand young'uns is gone. I thought I'd shoot a video while I was home alone. And here at Christmas, it sort of brings out the nostalgia in me, I guess. And the way my health is and everything, I find myself looking back more than I do looking forward anymore. So I thought I'd talk about how Christmas was when I was a kid. And, you know, Christmas is great now. There ain't anything wrong with it. But when I was a kid, it seemed like it was maybe a little more special. Toys weren't as easy to come by when I was a child as they are now. And, you know, like food, like oranges. I thought Christmas on time you could get an orange. That's the only time I ever seen any when I was a child. And around Christmas time, everybody grew tobacco where I grew up at. They grew burley tobacco. And they always sold their tobacco sometime between Thanksgiving and Christmas. Usually the tobacco market, or backer market as we called it, opened up the week right after Thanksgiving. And then it would run. Some people would hold their tobacco till after the first year, but the vast majority of them would sell it before the first of the year. And that'd give them money to pay their light bill and taxes and all that. For back then, you paid your light bill once a year. I think Granny's is like $110. But, and money was just a little more freer then. People had just a little bit more. And it was just a good time of year. And like when my grandmother, she didn't raise the tobacco, but she had an allotment and she got like a third of it for having the allotment. And we'd go to Marshall, that's the county seat of Madison County, and she would give me $5. And I would prowl around Marshall the biggest part of the day. And I had that $5 to spend. And today that'd be like $50, I imagine. 25 anyway, probably more like 50. And you know, like a hamburger was a treat. I mean, a big treat. It'd be like a fancy steak dinner today, or even more. You know, that's just something you just got once or twice a year. And I'd always get me a hamburger and order fries and a Coke. I think that was like $1.25. And usually I'd buy me a pocket knife. That wouldn't last but 6 or 8 weeks. I'd have it either broke or lost. And a few toys. But I had $5, you know. And that was just a magical time to me. And, you know, we'd exchange gifts and stuff. And as poor as we was, we always managed to have something under the Christmas tree. And Santa Claus always brought some. So that meant a lot when you're a child, you know. And nobody knowed they was that poor, because everybody was poor. And the ones that did have money didn't flaunt it. Now, like my neighbor out the road there, he had a big farm. And I don't think they had a whole lot of money. They had a whole lot of property, cattle and stuff. But, you know, with a big family, it takes a lot to live. And I played with their kids, and we was all poor. Ain't nobody had much. And we always shot fireworks around Christmas. The same guy that had the farm, he had worked at the tobacco warehouse in Johnson City, Tennessee. Matter of fact, I think he owned part of it. And he would bootleg firecrackers, for he had a country store there too. and he'd bootleg them firecrackers. For here in North Carolina, even today, fireworks is illegal. Anything goes bang, you ain't supposed to have. And like a cherry bomb was a nickel. A pack of firecrackers was a nickel. Them big old bottle rockets is about that high, you know. They was a quarter. And I'll never forget one year I bought one. Granny, she gave me a quarter and I bought one. Well, I didn't know how to shoot it. And them boys of his is meaner than snakes. They said, just light it and hold it in your hand, it'll just take off out of your hands, you know. Now, I didn't know no better. And I stepped out in the yard there and lit that right before we opened presents. And I probably had a 3rd-degree burn from my thumb to my elbow. It absolutely fried my arm. They thought they was going to have to take me to the doctor. And I should have went to the doctor, but you know, back then, if your arm didn't fall off, you didn't go to the doctor. And that was one of my most memorable Christmases right there, for I ain't never had nothing hurt like that. It absolutely set me on. Unfortunately, wonder it hadn't hurt me real bad. And it wasn't like work with them old mean boys here just telling me that. They thought that was funny, you know. You know how boys are. But we probably killed just about every fish in Big Laurel. Somebody figured out that a cherry bomb would go off and underwater. And we'd take string or tape or whatever we could get and hook a rock to a cherry bomb. We killed every hog. A trout wouldn't float to the top, but a hog sucker would. We killed every one in that creek, and I'm sure we killed a trout too. But it was just a great time to be alive, and we had a lot of fun. Them same boys I was talking about talked me into setting myself on fire. They took a 51 Ford car hood, and they waxed on that thing all day long. And their daddy had like 200 or 300 acres of land, and a lot of it was in pasture. And they took that plumb to the top of that pasture, and 2 or 3 of them got on it. I know 2 did, maybe 3. And they come off that mountain on that hood and went through a barbed wire fence and skint them all over. They had big tore spaces in their face and arms and legs and stuff. Now that was a sight to behold. But that's just, you know, we made our own fun over there, you know. And like today, kids will get video games and stuff. Our games is like Monopoly. I can remember Monopoly being the biggest game we'd play it. So it took all day to play a game of that stuff. And cards was really frowned on. You had to sneak and play cards. Nobody accepted cards. It was considered like evil or something other, you know. Gambling. Yeah. Probably better times then than they are now. One people losing everything they had to gambling and stuff. But that's the way it was. Usually the church would put on some kind of plan, us kids being it. I can remember that. It was a good time. But I can really remember them hamburgers and oranges. And I'm pretty sure when I was little, tangerines come out. I don't think they'd ever been around till then. And they had something, I thought them was the best things that ever was. And then it got some more necessary, you couldn't eat them. It was awful. Yeah. That just, you know, things I remember. And like growing up, I thought only rich people had macaroni and cheese. Now, why I thought that, I don't know. But all my childhood, I thought this rich people had macaroni and cheese, and rich people had boxwoods in their yard. How I come to that conclusion, I'll never know. And still, if a house has boxwoods in front of it, I think that's real elegant, you know. But it's funny how things will get in a child's head, you know, and stay there. And my aunt, she lived in New Jersey, and she was married to a rocket scientist. I mean, a sure enough rocket scientist. And he made good money. They was well-off people. And she'd always come down and spend like a week in the summer with Granny. And these sloppy joes would come out. and she made sloppy joes, and I thought them was the best things that ever was. And I thought them, you know, you had to be rich to have them. I guess sloppy joes poor people's food now, you know. And when I was in the 5th grade, me and Granny rode the train up there. That was quite the adventure. And my first cousins, she was 2 years younger than me. In her bedroom, there was shelves built around all the walls, 2 or 3 shelves high. And every inch of them shelves had a toy on it. And when I seen that, I realized I was poor. I mean, she had more toys than I'd ever seen in my life. And that was a defining moment in my life when I seen that, and I realized, well, I guess I am poor, you know. And it's funny how a child's mind works. And over there where I grew up, they was poor people. They was kids that go to school way up in the fall, didn't have shoes on. It wasn't because they like to go barefooted. A lot of them have to wait till around Thanksgiving so their mom and daddy would have enough money to buy them a pair when they sold back. But that's just the way it was. And you know, a lot of them kids that come up dirt poor is millionaires today. I can name 2 or 3 that is really wealthy. And I guess just being poor set a fire in them, and they've really done good. I guess I was poor enough. I ain't really wealthy, but I've got more than I ever thought I'd have. But that's just the way it was Christmas on Laurel. And then when we got older, you know, we'd rabbit hunt and stuff. Christmas was a big time to go hunting and stuff like that. And there wasn't no deer, none. I've never killed a deer in my life, and I've been several times. Back when I was a young man, actually deer hunted. You done good to ever see a deer. They just wasn't none. Now them things like rats are everywhere. They 4 or 5 stays down to sawmill now, and all of a sudden there's just turkeys everywhere. And I left Big Laurel in 1976, and up to that point there had never been a turkey over in there. There's turkeys. Somebody even set some beavers out over in that part of the country. And I think they've killed most of them. There's damming up creeks and everything else. But you know, these tree huggers, they do stuff like that. But you never see nothing like that. And I think it was the day Trump was elected, there was a bald eagle flew across my sawmill. And I'd seen one other bald eagle, and I'm pretty sure it's the same one. Was delivering some lumber, and it was on the side of the road eating a dead rabbit. And I told Mother, I said, well, there's a bald eagle. And I'd never seen one of them around here. But I've either seen 2 or seen that twice. And there's a little screech owl, it hangs around the sawmill down there. We named it Rudy. It'll get in the mouth of that chipper and stay every once in a while. But that's just the way it was back in I guess as us old people say, the good old days, you know. And the good old days is right now for a lot of people too, so don't pay a whole lot of attention to that. But Merry Christmas. All these new subscribers, I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. It's humbling and amazing to me that anybody would want to sit and listen to the yarns I've got to tell, and I do appreciate you listening to them, and I like to tell them. And hopefully one of these days when I'm gone, my grandkids can look back and say, well, that was our pal there. So, talk at you later. Bye.